everyone. I'm Elena Armijo, and I'm the founder of the C-Suite Collective. This is a company I created for executive leadership coaching and wellness that supports C-suite executives, entrepreneurs, and founders. Now, more than ever, businesses are running faster and with fewer resources. Burnout, overwhelm, disconnection, and disillusionment are the new norm for teams struggling with an old paradigm. At the C-Suite Collective, I believe deeply that providing massive support for your teams through executive coaching and holistic practices will create an inclusive culture, higher levels of performance, sustainable change, and the organizational impact you desire. You can find us at the c-suitecollective.com. What does celebration of Women's History Month and beyond look like? We'll look at that in our coaching tip for the week. And in our interview segment today, we have Alycia James, a coach and healer who focuses on emotional freedom, intuitive development, and self-liberation. I hope you enjoy the episode today. And remember, something powerful resides within you. I'm here to support you in seeing it and creating it. What does celebration of Women's History Month and beyond look like? So we recently just completed March of 2023, where it is Women's History Month. And I was thinking a lot about what would it look like to not only celebrate this month every year, but live intentionally the rest of the year through the lens of equity for all. So one of the things I want to share is I was on a workshop contract this last month that we were working together with the C-Suite Collective. And it happened to be, I was leading with two other women from the C-Suite Collective. So we were together in this really big contract this month, and we were having kind of a hard time. It was a tough workshop, a tough room. And after the workshop, we were feeling so depleted and low energy and just really kind of like, we'd worked 2 full days and we'd given everything we had in our hearts and bodies and mind. And our gas tanks were on empty. So what I love is we got in the car and there was a voice note from Aaron. And it was so beautiful. It was just this simple voice note that said that he loved me and he wanted to celebrate Women's History Month and say that he celebrates me today and every day and all days, and that he is honored to stand for me and women across the world in our fight for equality and really for the world to honor women. And I think it was just such a special moment to hear this voice note. He always sends the most beautiful, loving voice notes to me, but this one in particular, with being in a car full of 2 other women who had just led a workshop full of a lot of women. And it felt like a really intentional, beautiful moment. So the thing I want to offer you all as a tip for every month is think about these 3 things. The first is we can actually leave men behind. The thing that I love the most about that voice note from Aaron is that oftentimes in a conversation about men versus women or even non-binary conversations, there's someone losing or being left out. And I want to offer that surrounding yourself with people and men like Aaron who are willing to see you and hear you, even if they can't understand you, but honor what you're up to in the world is important. So find those allies. The second thing is, who is your collective sisterhood? Mine are the people in the C-Suite Collective and dear friends that I surround myself with and my family. So if you're not looking at intentionally creating sisterhood with other women, where could you gather them for support and call them collective sisters? And the third is, support conversations around equity and pay and opportunities and a true collective. If everyone was seen and honored for who they are, and there was support given for things that are needed specifically to men versus women, or non-binary conversations where there are special things that are needed for others, where can you be inclusive and actually start supporting that conversation? It was a beautiful month, and it was such a joy to be surrounded by women last month and to welcome this conversation in with Alycia. Alycia, thank you so much for being with us today. I am so excited that you're here. I remember the first time I met you. I always like to talk about the first time I meet people on the podcast because there's just something magical about that first meeting. And
Yeah.
I never forget it with humans. And so with you, I've never met you in person. Well, no,
I
that's not true.
know.
Actually, we did a photo shoot, but when I first
Yes,
met
that's true.
you, I met you online, and it was a while before we met in person.
Yeah.
And we met because we were trying to create this crazy coaching show, which someday we will still create.
Yes. It might not look anything like what we thought it was going to, but
Yeah,
it's coming into fruition.
exactly. A TV show on Netflix and Hulu, which we won't say much about if we actually want to go create it. But what I really want to say is when I met you, I remember thinking how incredibly beautiful you are. And from all levels, like physical beauty, soul, the way you view the world, the way you talk about people and support people. And what I found most special that was wrapped up in that beauty was this: you exude joy and humor. And it's like, it's so fun to just be in your presence and to sit with you and experience that. So I'm so glad you're here. Thank
Do
you.
you start every podcast making your guests cry?
I don't know. Sometimes, yes, we just jump right into that vulnerability.
That is so
But
beautiful. I love that that was your experience of me. I
yeah.
love that. I mean, I say my experience of you?
Oh, sure. Well, yeah.
You know,
We
you're the boss here, but I'm just going to do what I want to do, as you know.
exactly, which is why I love
I
you.
mean, literally, the first time that I met you, which again was online, so it's not even being in physical person,
Mhm.
face to face. But I just remember feeling this fire and this strength from you that it was just like, literally, there's nothing that can stand in this girl's way. There is nothing that she won't just burn through with her desire. You, like, when you focus in on something, it's like the world parts ways for you to walk through because your desire and your vision is so pure and
Mm.
so clear. And it's just like, yes, yes, absolutely. Whatever she's doing, I want to be part of it. Whatever she's up to, like, I want to. And I think that that's what real leadership is. It was your
Mm.
leadership that was shining through when I first met you. And that comes from, being a visionary and having, very clear vision of the world that you want to live in.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you for that.
yeah,
That's really cool to see yourself reflected in other people. And I really hope.
isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and how often do we actually allow that or practice receiving that in the
Oh,
world?
yeah. I mean, we probably practice it a little bit more because
Mhm.
we make it a part of our practice with our clients and even the, other people that we're close to. But I don't think that it's common enough. It feels very uncomfortable for people to be to have their essence or their being reflected back to them.
Yeah, well, and you're a coach and you're a magical woman. I'm just going to say magical witch woman, that which
Yes.
we'll talk about a little bit today, but I think as coaches in particular, it's such a beautiful gift of our job that
Hmm.
when people ask me, why do you love being a coach? Part of this is that we get to really experience ourselves as well in real time
Mm,
because we're all mirrors for each other in the world. And so I certainly see that in my day to day, which I think is a true gift of our profession and helps me support leaders in seeing it in themselves.
yeah. Yeah. And you are a very gifted seer. I
Oh.
would say that's one thing that I think we bonded over pretty quickly too, was how easy it is for us to see the good in people and to see past all of the things that they kind of put in front of themselves to try and hide who they really are. It's
Yeah.
like, you don't have to do that. I see you and you see me. And it just makes it so much easier to move through the world like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It is truly a gift. Well, speaking of the ability to receive and to see in the world, I know that you and I wanted to talk about Women's History Month. It's the beginning of the month for us as we're recording this. So happy Women's History Month.
Yes. Happy Women's History Month. Oh my God. Can I just tell you, like, before we even dive into this, how much I used to hate being a woman?
Mm,
Like, growing up, I actually thought that I was less than.
mm,
I thought that I was smaller and weaker and all of these things than a
mhm.
man. And I used to think that it was actually kind of a curse.
Mm,
that I was born a woman. And I would say for probably the first 35 years of my life,
hmm.
I thought that being born a woman was a hindrance.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I'm trying to think. I think I had a similar experience. It might not have been so strong of a context of like, this is wrong. And I attribute that
Yeah.
to my family because I think they did a beautiful job of trying to make all things equal in our house
Right.
between my brothers and I. And I noticed that while I didn't hate being a woman, I didn't also embrace the gifts of being
Mm.
a woman until
Hmm.
much later in
Hmm.
my life.
Yeah.
Do you find that that is also the case around your gifts, or was it just
Oh,
like
for
a no?
sure. For sure. For sure. For sure. Because the thing is, I had so much internalized misogyny inside of myself, which I wasn't even aware of until I really started doing like deep dive into coaching and into mindset work and, deconstructing my internalized, operating systems, for lack of a better word. And I realized, oh my gosh, I have so much internalized misogyny.
Mm,
And I really think that it had a huge impact on how much I was able to listen to my intuition. And even I noticed, like with therapists, when I would have therapists, if it was a male therapist, I would naturally kind of go with whatever they were saying and think that they were right about me.
mm,
When they would give me a reflection or they would say something about me, I would automatically give them the authority
mhm,
because they were a man. No other reason except
mhm,
that they were a man.
mm.
And so they must know better than me. And then I like woke up and I was like, hold on a second. Nobody knows me better than me. Like I actually know and I can say, you know what, that doesn't resonate for me, what you just said. And that's okay too, because there's like a fear of confronting a male and having that come back on me and,
Mm,
basically have my own opinions being weaponized against me.
mm,
If I challenge somebody, then, I might be put in my place, quote unquote, or whatever. And then it wasn't until I started practicing that more and more with men in my life and I started attracting more really safe men who wanted me to be myself and wanted me to be fully expressed. And those men for me were such a huge gift because I was able to realize, oh, I'm actually giving my power and my authority away to you
mm,
just because you are male presenting. Whereas I actually can take all of that back. And when I do, I'm so much more aligned. I feel so much more empowered in my decisions. And I don't sit and wonder and have so much like doubt or regret. I'm not busy thinking about the past. I'm not busy thinking about the future. I'm just being present with what's happening right now. And
mhm,
that's where all of our power is.
mhm. Well, man, there's so much in that to unpack, but I think the thing I'm most curious about is you said the word intuition, at the beginning of
Yeah.
this. And so I'm curious, what does intuition mean to you? And for somebody who may not have access to their intuition right now or even be familiar with what that even looks like or means,
Yeah.
what would you say to them or how would you describe it?
I think the best way that I know how to describe it is it's your inner knowing. It's like this part of you that maybe is is like in tune with whatever you want to call it, source, God, spirit, like this kind of invisible flow of life.
Mm,
There's a part of you that's always in tune with that. And a lot of times we can try and use our logical brains to figure things out. And that's totally cool. I don't think that you should give up your logical brain ever. But your intuition, it's not always going to necessarily make sense logically, but
mhm.
it's like that's that inner knowing that give me a second because I've never really like explained this.
All good. Take your time.
But yeah, it's just that part of you that's completely in the flow of life.
Mm,
And it takes sometimes some stillness to be able to access it,
mm,
which is something that we don't always cultivate in our culture.
mhm,
But it's like your compass and your map, if you will, through your life, especially when it comes to like making decisions. And I think that the biggest thing that people sometimes confuse with their intuition is their fear, because they think like, oh, their intuition is going to warn them of something bad that's going to happen. And that is sometimes true with physical danger. You know, your hair might stand up on the back of your neck, or you get this sense when you walk into a room that you're just like, this is not the place for me. Like, I need to get out of here.
Mm.
Like little things like that. Even I have an example. One time I remember I was in a car and I was in the passenger seat. And for some reason, I felt like I was naked. I was like, something's missing. Like, I feel like I'm naked. Like, what is going on? And I realized in that moment that I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. And I was like, oh, so I put on my seatbelt. Literally 5 seconds later, we got into a car accident.
Oh,
And
wow.
if I hadn't been wearing my seatbelt, I would have flown through the front windshield.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was wearing my seatbelt, I was like safe and I was fine. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it's like little things like that,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like that inner knowing that comes on pretty strong,
Mm-hmm.
like telling you, okay, do this. And when we listen to it, we start seeing like, oh, everything is actually like working out for me. Everything is always trying to work together for my highest good. If I just like let go of trying to control everything, and I just kind of am able to go with the flow of life. Does that even answer your question?
I think so. Yeah. And I love
Okay.
I'm really getting clear images and descriptions when you're talking about it. And I love that you talked about fear versus intuition, because I think for me and for some of my clients and the leaders that I support in the world, there's always this question of, is it really my intuition, or am I overthinking this, or is this my fear? And so I'm curious, how have you defined like what that is for you, and how have you learned to be with that, those two questions inside you?
Yeah. Well, those are really, really good questions. And I think for me specifically, and obviously it's going to be different for everybody, but I have noticed the pattern for myself
Mm,
that if it's my intuition, it usually comes with a lot of peace
mm,
and almost like a feeling of acceptance. And when it's my fear, it does not feel like that to
mhm,
me at all. And one of the things that I like to practice with myself, obviously, but also with my clients, is just asking this question: if there was no right or wrong, and no matter what you did, everyone would be ecstatically happy, what would you do? What would you want?
mm,
And that's usually your intuition,
mhm,
because your intuition lives outside of this, you know, duality of right and wrong, good or bad, black and white.
mm,
And so typically, if you can kind of remove yourself from that, you're able to tap into your intuition more. And, you know, most of our fears are usually like, how is this going to affect somebody else? You know, how is my team going to respond to this decision that I'm making? Is this going to make sense
mhm,
to my partner if I make this
mhm,
decision, right? And when you let go of all of that, you can actually hear like your personal truth and your inner knowing.
mm. Wow. So now I'm curious, because something you and I have talked about before is healing from the past. And I'm specifically thinking about Women's History Month, right? And
Yeah.
all the ways that women have been made wrong in the
Mm-hmm.
past for their intuition, or told that their intuition is not valid. Or even now, as we are in conversations where leaders are becoming more inclusive in the way that they see people in general. And I'm thinking of even people that identify as women.
Mm-hmm.
What's the healing work that there is to be done around that? And I'm thinking specifically of you, because you've shared before that there's been some healing from religious trauma in your past. And so
Yeah.
if we take that scenario and couple it with a conversation about intuition, how did you do some healing there to actually still be able to access it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so deep. That's so deep. But I think for me, a lot of the healing work that I needed to do was in trusting my own voice
Mm,
and just saying out loud what my truth is. and trusting that whoever I'm speaking to is going to be okay.
Mm. That's really beautiful. What do you say to people that are still in spaces where that's unsafe to do that, right? Like I'm thinking of all the places
Yeah.
where we think it's safe, but it's not quite yet,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say just start with knowing what your truth is. You're not always going to be able to speak your truth, even if your voice shakes, da da da. Like it's not actually realistic all the time,
Yeah.
but you can test the waters here and there, and you know when it's the right time. You know when it's your time to say something, and when it's not. But just acknowledging
Mm-hmm.
your truth, even if you don't say it out loud,
Mm-hmm.
just acknowledging that it's there, that will go like miles and miles for you for just being able to trust your own instincts
Mm-hmm.
and just build that self-trust. 'Cause I think for me as a woman, that has been the biggest thing that I've had to heal was my relationship with trusting myself,
Mm.
with trusting my own intuition, with trusting my own voice, with trusting, my decisions, with just trusting what I even want to do day to day. Like yesterday, I could barely get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
I felt so depressed and I just felt so like worthless. I was just having one of those days. And I think a lot of people have those days. And I just decided, you know what? I'm going to do the things that I have to get done, obviously.
Mm.
And I'm going to have some grace with myself and I'm going to lay under the blankets. Between every
Mm-hmm.
single thing that I have to do, I'm going to come back to my bed and I'm going to lay down and I'm going to do nothing. And anything that I can take off my plate, I'm going to take off my plate. And like giving yourself that space, giving yourself that permission to not do everything for everybody else, but to actually prioritize what you need, I think goes a long way for building self-trust too.
Yeah, so it's a practice in building
Yeah,
muscle over time. Yeah.
for sure. And it's not something that comes naturally per se, because we're literally taught that our worth comes from what we give to other people
Mm-hmm.
or how we can serve the collective or serve the corporation that we're working for, or serve our families. Like we're
Mm-hmm.
taught that that's where our value comes from. And so like saying, yeah, you know what? I am valuable to this place and I am valuable to these people and this community, but I'm also valuable to me and I
Mm-hmm.
matter to me and what I want matters to me. And just being able to hold yourself in alignment in that way. I think even if, you're not going to do it perfectly, like you said, it's a practice.
Mm.
Just like balance and all the rest of these things that we aspire to, it's all a practice. And it's never something that you're going to like nail 100% of the time. But if you're getting closer and closer to it, you start feeling more and more powerful.
Mm.
And then you like figure it out that you're actually unstoppable. You're like, oh, this is what nobody wanted me to see.
Yeah.
I'm actually a really powerful person. Huh. Okay.
Well, I know we're talking a lot about women right now for Women's History Month, but I am curious about men and their intuition because that's another common question I
Yeah.
get from my leaders who are men, which is, when I talk about intuition as a woman, it has now become in society, or at least my perception of it has been like, oh, well, that's a conversation for women, like a
Mm,
woman's intuition, right? That's a
yeah.
coined phrase. So,
Yeah.
what do you have to say about men and their intuition?
I mean, they've got it just as much as we do.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, that's interesting is that men are usually following their intuition when they're like following their gut. A lot of guys are like, oh, just follow your gut, and listen to your gut. And that gut instinct is their intuition. They are just not socialized and conditioned to second guess it as much as we are. And so they're actually typically, most of the guys that I've worked with at least, are actually really in tune with their intuition. They're just not calling it that per se. But I mean, if you think about it, like every single person on the planet, and I don't want to get too, down into the dirt of like binaries and things like that, but we all contain the feminine and the masculine, and we all need to lean into both of them. And I've noticed that the men that I know that are willing to lean into their feminine aspects and aren't afraid of that
Mm.
are doing, I think, so much work to undo the patriarchy
Mm-hmm.
and to make this world an actually better place. Because it's like, they're taught from a young age a lot of times that anything feminine is not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that if they show any feminine aspects, then that makes them weak. That makes them less than, all the things that we were talking about earlier, and the internalized misogyny that I grew up with. And so when they're able to lean into that more and trust that more, I find that they end up feeling a lot more empowered
Mm-hmm.
because they're no longer trying to hide any part of who they are. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times I hear the male language around intuition is like your gut. Yeah, follow your gut,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's pretty much what it pans out to be.
Yeah, I like that because I think when we put it in terms of I have this and I'm better at this than you are in any
Yeah.
perspective of that, we get away from a human spiritual approach, right? We all have that
Hmm.
voice inside us, and yours is not any more or less than mine.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing is that it doesn't have to look the same for everybody.
Mm.
I mean, once you start realizing that everybody's intuition, their inner knowing, whatever you want to call it, it speaks to them in different ways and it expresses itself in different ways. And everybody's on a different journey. Like, we're not all supposed to be at the same place at the same time.
Mm.
Like, we're all supposed to be on our own journeys. Like, that's part of what's cool about living in community with other human beings is that we don't all have the same strengths. We don't all have the same quote unquote weaknesses. We don't all have the same timeline. And like letting and allowing everybody else to have their own journey. I think that's been the biggest thing about healing from religious trauma for me too, is like just realizing that we don't all have to be the same. Like,
Mm.
we don't all have to believe exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
And, our spirituality can be expressed however it needs to be expressed. And like, I don't believe, in like whatever this new age kind of spirituality. Like, I don't necessarily believe everything that, everybody else believes either. And that's beautiful.
Mm.
And I can just let them have their beliefs and I can let myself have my beliefs. And it's about living in alignment with yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's what your intuition is really guiding you towards, is living in alignment with your truest self.
Mm. What's possible for leadership in the world or leaders in the world if we are following this path of everyone being on their own journey, listening to your intuition, and getting really clear about the healing work you're doing? What do you think is
Mm,
possible?
I mean, the fast answer is like, what's not possible? That's the first thing that comes to mind. But I think that, communities and companies and organizations that are really utilizing their members to the best of their abilities. I think that that's the first thing that really comes to mind. Because when the energy and alignment of the leader of any group
Mm-hmm.
that you're in is going to trickle down and affect everybody who's in that group,
Mm.
right? And they set the tone, whether they like it or not. You're setting the tone. And if you imagine like every single person listening to this, you are the leader of every room that you walk into, whether or not
Mm-hmm.
you're the boss,
Mm-hmm.
you are a leader. And so you set the tone to every room that you go into. You can set the tone of being afraid, and you can set the tone of, second guessing, or you could set the tone of trusting yourself. You can set the tone of trusting the people around you to know what their strengths are and to really lean into what turns them on. Because when everybody in the organization is leaning into what turns them on, literally it moves mountains.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And everybody feels that fulfillment. It's a win-win. It's creating win-wins with everybody that you're working with towards a common goal, because everybody feels like their contributions matter. And I feel like that feeling of belonging and significance inside any group of people is what really motivates people to keep moving forward, way more than like a pizza party on a Friday. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. I remember the pre-pandemic days of the pizza
Right?
party on Fridays. That's so
Yes,
good.
let's buy you pizza so you don't realize like how overworked you are and how
Yeah.
underappreciated you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you feel like you belong in an organization and you feel like your gifts and your intuition and your vision matters, that's going to go so much further to avoiding burnout and to really like keeping you going and motivating you to give your best.
That's so good. I'm thinking about one of the conversations I've been in pretty consistently the last couple of weeks with leaders from many organizations, nonprofits, and and finance have actually been the two industries specifically that I've been
Mm-hmm.
in conversations about this with. There's a lot of discord between generations, right? Like I hear
Mm-hmm.
a lot of talk these days about how, baby boomers and millennials and don't necessarily understand or get, Gen Z or Gen X and how are they all going to work together? And some people think that you should work harder and some people think you should work less. And so there's a lot of what I'm going to call rumbling,
Mm-hmm.
rumbling going on about how to really hear each other and be in relationships together. So I'm curious from what you just shared, from the sense of belonging, what's what do you think is possible with that conversation with multi generations right now?
Yeah. Well, I think that probably the first thing is just remembering that none of us have the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
Just like no one person knows everything. No one person has the entire perspective, and our collective vision for what's possible becomes so much stronger when everybody's vision is invited to be expressed. Um, and I think it just comes back to, again, listening. Like the greatest leaders in the world are great listeners.
Mm-hmm.
And when we listen to each other and actually listen to understand instead of just listening to respond,
Mm-hmm.
that's when we're able to see, okay, maybe we don't believe the same thing. Maybe I don't think the same thing. I wasn't socialized and conditioned in the same way that a baby boomer was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was in a completely different way. And I wasn't socialized and conditioned the same way that Gen Z was. I mean, Gen Z is out here loving their bodies and just wearing whatever they want. And I grew up in diet culture, like you were supposed to be a rail stick skinny.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I was so fat, like 120 pounds. And so it's like, we all grew up in different places, but if we're able to try and understand where the other person is coming from, it can actually expand our view instead of having to be right
Mm-hmm.
and think like we know the right way. So I guess that's probably where it starts for me, at least, is just like letting go of this idea that I have to be right in order to be valuable.
Beautifully said. Letting go that I have to be right to be valuable.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to talk about or share? We've hit a lot here, but
I know. I feel like we did a lot.
we did do a lot.
Yeah. Let me think about that for a second. If there's anything else that I want to say.
Yeah, check with our intuition.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I definitely feel like it's going to be more important than ever moving forward as a species, as like a human species,
Mm-hmm.
that the different generations are able to work together
Mm.
and that we're able to glean from the older generations what they know
Mm-hmm.
and also be okay with like letting go of anything that doesn't really resonate anymore.
Mm.
But it's interesting too, because especially because you brought up finance,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of those things that there are so many like rigid rules that this is the right way to do this. This is the right way to handle money. This is the right way to invest. This is the right way to buy things. And it's really honestly something that I work with a lot of people on is finances and intuitive finances
Mm-hmm.
and actually using your own intuition to see like, okay, what actually feels right to you?
Mm-hmm.
And I found that people make a lot more money when they are listening to their intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say that making money is the be all end all of life, right? Because it's not. Like, there's so much more to life than just making money. But when they are in alignment with their values and they're spending in alignment and earning in alignment, it's so much easier for them to be able to receive that energy of money.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a new perspective that's coming through, and I think that Gen Z has a lot of things to teach us as well. Like, I am constantly amazed at the wisdom that Gen Z has and their ability to be resilient and their ability to basically just cut through the bullshit and be like, that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
This is what matters. And Gen Z is like yelling at us, people matter.
Mm-hmm.
People matter.
Mm-hmm.
Corporations, they come and go. They're empires they're built and they crumble sometimes. But like, the people that make up the corporation, that's what matters.
Yeah. So beautiful. Well, if you had one thing to leave everybody with, and I would say in celebration of the month, anybody identifying as a woman, what would you
Yeah.
offer them for this next year?
I would just offer them that you are perfect exactly as you are. Like, literally, you don't have to be hyper feminine. You don't have to be hyper masculine. You don't have to be anything. You don't have to be nurturing and soft and gentle. You don't have to be, like, fierce and fiery. You get to just be you.
Hmm.
And that is enough. And you being yourself as a woman is what makes up the beautiful tapestry that is the feminine in the world. And I love seeing people come out of that box of what they think a woman should be
Mm.
or how they think a woman should act at work,
Yeah.
and just being themselves, because that's liberating every single person around you, not just women.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on today. This has
Thank
been so
you.
fun.
What a fun conversation. Yeah,
Yes.
I really love you and I love your soul and your magic in the world. So thanks for being a
Mm,
leader of leaders who inspires people to find out their true authentic voice and
mm.
intuition. Thank you.
Ah, thank you.
If this conversation sparks something for you, let it move through your week. Take it with you, take on one small action to move the ball forward. And if you want to join our community of leaders who are daring to lead with courage and heart, you can find that at www.elenaarmijo.com or www.thec-suitecollective.com. I reserve a small number of complimentary 20-minute sessions for leaders who want clarity on what they need and insight into what is getting in the way. The practical next steps that create real movement and results in your leadership journey. So you can schedule a call through the link below. It's in the description. Like, subscribe. Thank you for listening, for showing up, and for doing the work of being human together.